What if I told you that your IQ might matter far less to your success than how well you understand and manage your emotions? Today, we're exploring the groundbreaking book that revolutionized our understanding of human intelligence and success. You can get your own copy of Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman through the link in the video description below. Published in 1995, Emotional Intelligence: Why It Can Matter More Than IQ challenged the conventional wisdom about what makes someone successful in life. Before Goleman's work, intelligence was primarily measured through IQ tests, focusing on logical reasoning, mathematical ability, and verbal skills. However, Goleman presented compelling evidence that another form of intelligence, emotional intelligence, plays an even more crucial role in determining our success in relationships, work, and life overall. Daniel Goleman, a psychologist and science journalist for the New York Times, didn't invent the concept of emotional intelligence. The term was first coined by researchers Peter Salovey and John Mayer in 1990. However, Goleman expanded on their work, synthesized a vast body of research in neuroscience and psychology, and brought the concept into the mainstream. His book became an international bestseller, translated into 40 languages, and has had a profound impact on fields ranging from education and business to healthcare and parenting. At its core, emotional intelligence, often abbreviated as EI or EQ for emotional quotient, refers to the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions, as well as recognize, understand, and influence the emotions of others. Goleman breaks down emotional intelligence into 5 key components: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Each component represents a distinct set of emotional competencies that contribute to effective functioning in various aspects of life. Self-awareness forms the foundation of emotional intelligence. It involves recognizing your own emotions as they occur and understanding how they affect your thoughts and behavior. Someone with high self-awareness can accurately assess their own strengths and limitations and possesses a strong sense of self-confidence grounded in a realistic evaluation of themselves. Goleman argues that without self-awareness, the other components of emotional intelligence cannot be fully developed. When we lack awareness of our own emotional states, we cannot effectively manage them or understand how they influence our decisions and interactions. Goleman provides numerous examples of how self-awareness operates in daily life. For instance, a self-aware person might recognize that they tend to become irritable when under deadline pressure and can take steps to manage this tendency before it affects their work relationships. They can distinguish between feeling anxious about a presentation versus excited about it, and this distinction allows them to respond appropriately to their emotional state. Self-awareness also enables us to recognize when our emotions might be clouding our judgment, providing an opportunity to step back and reassess situations more objectively. Self-regulation, the second component, builds upon self-awareness and involves controlling or redirecting disruptive emotions and impulses. It's not about suppressing or denying emotions, but rather managing them appropriately. People skilled in self-regulation remain calm under pressure, think clearly in stressful situations, and recover quickly from emotional distress. They're able to suspend judgment, think before acting, and adapt to changing circumstances with flexibility. The benefits of self-regulation extend far beyond just keeping negative emotions in check. Goleman points out that people with strong self-regulation skills are more likely to create environments of trust and fairness, reduce office politics, and increase productivity. In our personal lives, self-regulation helps us maintain healthy relationships by preventing impulsive actions or words we might later regret. It also contributes to physical health, as chronic stress and uncontrolled negative emotions can weaken the immune system and contribute to various health problems. Motivation, the third component, refers to being driven by internal factors rather than external rewards like money, recognition, or status. Internally motivated individuals have a passion for the work itself, a strong desire to achieve, persistent energy to pursue goals despite setbacks, and optimism even in the face of failure. This intrinsic motivation leads to what psychologists call flow states, periods of intense focus and productivity where time seems to disappear and work feels effortless. Goleman emphasizes that motivation rooted in emotional intelligence differs significantly from motivation driven solely by external incentives. When people are motivated primarily by external rewards, their effort often diminishes once those rewards are attained or removed. In contrast, intrinsically motivated individuals maintain their drive regardless of external circumstances. This explains why some people continue to pursue excellence in their field even after achieving significant success, while others may lose interest once they've received the promotion or recognition they were seeking. Empathy, the fourth component, involves understanding other people's emotional makeup and considering others' feelings, especially when making decisions. It's about being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and understand their perspective. Empathetic individuals are skilled at recognizing and responding to the unspoken emotional currents in individuals and groups. This capability is particularly important in today's global business environment, where teams often include members from diverse cultural backgrounds with different communication styles and emotional norms. Goleman distinguishes between three types of empathy: cognitive empathy, understanding how others think about the world; emotional empathy, feeling what others feel; and empathic concern, being moved to help others when needed. Each type serves different purposes in our interactions. Cognitive empathy helps us communicate effectively with different types of people. Emotional empathy allows us to build deeper connections and sense when someone is distressed, even if they don't explicitly say so. Empathic concern motivates prosocial behavior and compassionate action. Social skills, the fifth component, represent the culmination of the other dimensions of emotional intelligence. They involve managing relationships effectively to move people in desired directions. Social skills include proficiency in finding common ground, building rapport, and maintaining networks. People with strong social skills are persuasive, excellent at leading change initiatives, and adept at building and leading teams. They're typically good at managing conflicts, clear communicators, and catalysts for collaboration. What makes social skills a component of emotional intelligence, rather than just a set of techniques, is that they're applied with genuine emotional awareness and empathy. The most socially skilled individuals don't simply manipulate others to achieve their goals. They build authentic relationships based on mutual understanding and trust. They're able to read the room in social situations, adjust their approach based on others' emotional states, and resolve disagreements in ways that address underlying emotional concerns rather than just surface issues. One of Goleman's most significant contributions was compiling evidence showing that emotional intelligence can be more important than cognitive intelligence in predicting success in many areas of life. He cites research indicating that IQ accounts for only about 20% of the factors that determine life success, leaving a much larger role for other variables, many of which relate to emotional intelligence. This was revolutionary at the time, challenging deeply entrenched beliefs about intelligence and merit in Western societies. For example, a longitudinal study Goleman references tracked high IQ students over several decades and found that they didn't necessarily outperform their peers in career achievement or life satisfaction. What distinguished the most successful individuals wasn't their academic prowess, but qualities like perseverance, self-control, and the ability to get along with others, all aspects of emotional intelligence. Similar findings have emerged from studies in various professional fields, from medicine and law to sales and leadership. The neural basis of emotional intelligence forms another fascinating aspect of Goleman's work. He explains how our brains are wired for emotion and how emotional intelligence operates at a neurological level. The amygdala, an almond-shaped structure in the brain's limbic system, plays a central role in our emotional reactions. It serves as an emotional sentinel, scanning everything that happens to us and looking for potential threats. When it detects danger, it can trigger a fight-or-flight response before our rational mind, centered in the prefrontal cortex, has even had time to process what's happening. Goleman describes this as an amygdala hijack, situations where strong emotions overwhelm rational thought. During such episodes, stress hormones flood our system, our heart rate increases, blood pressure rises, and our ability to think clearly diminishes. While this response was adaptive for our ancestors facing physical dangers, it's often counterproductive in modern contexts like workplace disagreements or relationship conflicts. Emotional intelligence involves strengthening the neural connections between the amygdala and prefrontal cortex, allowing the rational brain to moderate emotional responses more effectively. The good news, according to Goleman, is that emotional intelligence can be developed throughout life, unlike IQ, which remains relatively stable after childhood. Our brains remain neuroplastic, capable of forming new neural connections and patterns, well into adulthood. Through conscious effort, feedback, and practice, we can strengthen the neural pathways that support emotional intelligence, essentially rewiring our brains to respond more skillfully to emotional challenges. Goleman outlines several approaches to developing emotional intelligence. For self-awareness, practices like mindfulness meditation can help us become more attuned to our emotional states as they arise. For self-regulation, techniques such as cognitive reframing, changing how we interpret situations, and stress management strategies like deep breathing can help us manage difficult emotions more effectively. Empathy can be cultivated through active listening, seeking to understand diverse perspectives, and imagining ourselves in others' situations. Social skills improve with practice, feedback, and studying effective communication techniques. The implications of emotional intelligence extend far beyond individual success. Goleman discusses how emotional intelligence shapes the quality of our relationships, from intimate partnerships to workplace collaborations. Couples with higher emotional intelligence tend to resolve conflicts more constructively, communicate their needs more clearly, and maintain greater relationship satisfaction over time. In workplaces, teams with higher collective emotional intelligence typically outperform groups with higher average IQs but lower emotional skills, particularly on tasks requiring creativity, collaboration, and adaptability. Leadership represents an area where emotional intelligence proves especially crucial. Goleman's research with hundreds of companies found that emotional intelligence accounts for 85–90% of what distinguishes outstanding leaders from average ones. The most effective leaders demonstrate strengths across the components of emotional intelligence. They're self-aware about their impact on others, regulate their emotions during crises, communicate an inspiring vision that motivates their teams, empathize with diverse perspectives, and skillfully manage relationships throughout the organization. Goleman contrasts resonant leadership, characterized by high emotional intelligence, with dissonant leadership, marked by emotional tone deafness. Resonant leaders create positive emotional climates that bring out the best in others. They're attuned to people's feelings and concerns, communicate authentically, and build strong emotional bonds with their teams. Dissonant leaders, by contrast, create negative emotional atmospheres through behaviors like micromanaging, dismissing concerns, or displaying unpredictable emotional outbursts. The difference in results can be dramatic. Resonant leadership correlates with lower employee turnover, higher engagement, and better organizational performance. The role of emotional intelligence in education forms another significant focus of Goleman's work. He argues that schools have traditionally emphasized cognitive development at the expense of emotional and social learning. However, programs that teach emotional intelligence skills to children, often called social and emotional learning (SEL), show remarkable results. Students who participate in well-designed SEL programs typically demonstrate improved academic performance, better classroom behavior, increased ability to manage stress and depression, and better attitudes about themselves and others. These programs teach children to identify and name their feelings, develop empathy for others, make responsible decisions, and resolve conflicts constructively. The skills are taught both explicitly, through dedicated lessons, and implicitly, by creating classroom environments that nurture emotional awareness and healthy expression. The benefits of such education extend far beyond the classroom, reducing rates of substance abuse, delinquency, and other behavioral problems while improving students' capacity for healthy relationships throughout life. Goleman also examines emotional intelligence in the context of health and well-being. Chronic anger, anxiety, and depression don't just feel unpleasant. They can have serious physical consequences, contributing to conditions like heart disease, digestive disorders, and weakened immune function. Emotional intelligence skills like self-awareness and self-regulation can help break the cycle of negative emotions and stress reactions that underlies many health problems. People with higher emotional intelligence typically cope better with stress, recover more quickly from illness, and maintain healthier lifestyles. The connection between emotional intelligence and ethics represents another dimension of Goleman's analysis. He argues that empathy serves as the foundation for moral action. When we truly understand how our actions affect others emotionally, we're more likely to behave ethically. Without this emotional connection, ethical principles can remain abstract and disconnected from our daily choices. This explains why highly intelligent individuals sometimes engage in unethical behavior that seems obviously wrong to others. Their intellectual understanding of ethics isn't integrated with emotional awareness of the human impact of their actions. Emotional intelligence plays a crucial role in navigating cultural differences in our increasingly globalized world. Different cultures have different display rules for emotions, norms about which emotions are appropriate to express in various contexts, and how intensely they should be shown. Someone with high emotional intelligence can recognize these cultural variations, adapt their emotional expression accordingly, and avoid misinterpreting others' emotional behavior through the lens of their own cultural assumptions. This cross-cultural emotional intelligence facilitates international business, diplomatic relations, and multicultural community building. The digital age presents both challenges and opportunities for emotional intelligence. On one hand, increased screen time and reduced face-to-face interaction can hinder the development of emotional skills, particularly empathy and social awareness that depend partly on reading subtle facial expressions and body language. On the other hand, technology can be leveraged to enhance emotional intelligence through applications that promote mindfulness, tools that help identify and track emotional patterns, and platforms that connect people in more meaningful ways. Goleman suggests that emotional intelligence will become even more important as technological advancement continues, helping us maintain our humanity in an increasingly automated world. While emotional intelligence offers tremendous benefits, Goleman acknowledges potential pitfalls in its application. When emotional intelligence concepts are reduced to simplistic formulas or used manipulatively, they can become counterproductive. For instance, someone might use their understanding of others' emotions to manipulate rather than to build genuine connections. Or an organization might implement emotional intelligence training as a quick fix without addressing systemic issues that create toxic emotional climates. Authentic emotional intelligence involves integrity and genuine concern for others' well-being, not just emotional savvy used for self-interest. Goleman also addresses misunderstandings about emotional intelligence. It doesn't mean simply being nice or suppressing negative emotions in favor of positive ones. Sometimes, emotional intelligence requires having difficult conversations, setting firm boundaries, or acknowledging painful realities. The emotionally intelligent approach isn't about avoiding negative emotions, but dealing with them constructively. Similarly, emotional intelligence doesn't mean elevating emotions above reason. Rather, it means integrating emotional awareness with rational thinking to make better decisions than either emotions or logic alone could produce. The workplace applications of emotional intelligence have expanded significantly since Goleman's initial work. Organizations increasingly recognize the impact of emotional climate on productivity, creativity, and retention. Companies like Google, American Express, and the U.S. Air Force have implemented emotional intelligence training programs with measurable results in leadership effectiveness, team performance, and conflict reduction. The growing field of positive organizational scholarship examines how emotionally intelligent practices can create workplaces where people thrive personally, while also achieving exceptional results collectively. In healthcare, emotional intelligence has emerged as a vital component of effective patient care. Physicians with higher emotional intelligence tend to have better patient outcomes, higher satisfaction ratings, and fewer malpractice claims. Empathetic communication improves diagnostic accuracy as patients share more relevant information, increases treatment adherence, and accelerates healing. For healthcare providers themselves, emotional intelligence skills help prevent burnout by enabling them to process the emotional demands of their work more effectively, connect meaningfully with patients without becoming emotionally depleted, and build supportive relationships with colleagues. The scientific validation of emotional intelligence has grown substantially since Goleman's book was first published. Brain imaging studies confirm the neurological bases of emotional intelligence components, showing how self-awareness, empathy, and emotional regulation involve specific brain regions and networks. Longitudinal studies demonstrate that emotional intelligence predicts important life outcomes like career success, relationship satisfaction, and mental health, even when controlling for other factors like IQ and personality traits. Assessment tools for measuring emotional intelligence have become more sophisticated, allowing for more precise research and practical applications. Parenting represents one of the most significant contexts for emotional intelligence development. Children develop their emotional capabilities largely through interactions with caregivers. When parents recognize and validate children's emotions rather than dismissing or punishing them, children learn that emotions provide valuable information and can be managed constructively. Parents who model emotional awareness and healthy expression give their children a powerful advantage in social and emotional development. Emotionally intelligent parenting doesn't mean indulging every emotional expression, but helping children understand their feelings and develop appropriate ways to handle them. Goleman describes several distinct parenting styles and their impact on children's emotional intelligence. The dismissing parent treats children's emotions as unimportant or something to get over quickly. The disapproving parent criticizes emotional expression, especially negative emotions like anger or sadness. The laissez-faire parent acknowledges emotions but provides little guidance on handling them appropriately. The emotion coach validates feelings while still setting appropriate limits on behavior and helps children problem-solve emotional challenges. Research consistently shows that the emotion coaching approach leads to better outcomes across multiple dimensions of child development. Romantic relationships particularly benefit from emotional intelligence. The ability to communicate emotional needs clearly, respond empathetically to a partner's feelings, and regulate emotions during conflict strongly predicts relationship success. Emotionally intelligent couples don't avoid disagreements. Rather, They navigate them in ways that strengthen rather than damage their bond. They maintain a 5:1 ratio of positive to negative interactions, a finding from relationship researcher John Gottman, whom Goleman cites, express appreciation regularly, and create emotional safety that allows for vulnerability and growth. When relationship problems occur, they address underlying emotional issues rather than just surface behaviors. The evolution of emotional intelligence throughout the lifespan reveals interesting patterns. Certain aspects of emotional intelligence, like emotional self-control, typically improve as we age, while others, like openness to new emotional experiences, may decline without conscious effort to maintain them. Wisdom, which involves emotional intelligence integrated with life experience and cognitive complexity, represents a developmental achievement of later life that can compensate for other age-related changes. This developmental perspective underscores the importance of continued emotional growth throughout adulthood, challenging the notion that personal development peaks in early life. Emotional intelligence intersects with gender in complex ways. While research shows few inherent gender differences in emotional abilities, socialization often shapes how emotions are expressed and perceived along gendered lines. Women may be encouraged to develop greater awareness of certain emotions, particularly relationally oriented ones, while men may receive more support for emotional self-control in some contexts. Organizations that recognize these socialized patterns can create environments that support emotional intelligence development regardless of gender, benefiting from the full range of emotional capabilities that all employees bring. The collective emotional intelligence of groups, teams, and entire organizations determines their effectiveness in achieving goals, adapting to change, and maintaining member well-being. Groups with higher emotional intelligence demonstrate better decision-making, more creative problem-solving, and greater resilience during challenges. They create psychological safety, an environment where members feel they can take interpersonal risks without facing rejection or humiliation, which Google's extensive research has identified as the top predictor of team success. Leaders play a crucial role in establishing these emotionally intelligent group norms through their behavior and the processes they implement. Emotional contagion, the tendency for emotions to spread from person to person, highlights the interpersonal nature of our emotional lives. Goleman explains how our brains are wired for this emotional synchrony through mirror neurons that activate when we observe others' emotional expressions. This biological mechanism means that one person's emotional state, especially someone in a leadership position, can significantly influence everyone around them. Understanding emotional contagion helps us recognize our impact on others' emotional states and make conscious choices about the emotional climates we create in our relationships, teams, and communities. The relationship between emotional intelligence and attention emerges as another significant theme. Our ability to focus attention undergirdly all aspects of emotional intelligence, from noticing subtle emotional signals in ourselves and others to maintaining concentration on goals despite emotional distractions. Conversely, emotional states powerfully influence what we pay attention to and how we process information. This bidirectional relationship explains why practices like mindfulness meditation can simultaneously enhance attention control and emotional regulation, creating a positive spiral of improved functioning across multiple domains. The concept of emotional hijacking, when strong emotions overwhelm rational thought, helps explain many common interpersonal problems. During an emotional hijack, our perception narrows, memory becomes biased toward information that confirms our emotional state, and complex thinking diminishes. This explains why arguments often escalate unproductively, with each person becoming increasingly convinced of their rightness while unable to consider alternative perspectives. Recognizing the signs of an impending emotional hijack allows us to take preventive measures, like temporarily disengaging, until our rational faculties can regain control. Trauma's impact on emotional intelligence presents both challenges and opportunities for growth. Traumatic experiences, especially in childhood, can disrupt the development of healthy emotional awareness and regulation. However, with appropriate support, the process of healing from trauma can actually strengthen emotional capabilities beyond pre-trauma levels, a phenomenon known as post-traumatic growth. This involves developing greater emotional vocabulary, more nuanced self-awareness, enhanced empathy for others' suffering, and more intentional approaches to managing difficult feelings, all key components of emotional intelligence. The role of emotional intelligence in creativity and innovation continues to gain recognition. Emotionally intelligent individuals and teams can navigate the emotional terrain of creative work more effectively, tolerating the uncertainty and potential failure inherent in innovation, remaining open to feedback without becoming defensive, collaborating through the inevitable conflicts that arise during creative processes, and maintaining intrinsic motivation despite setbacks. Organizations seeking to foster innovation increasingly focus on creating emotionally intelligent cultures, where creative risk-taking feels psychologically safe and intrinsically rewarding. Goleman discusses how emotional intelligence supports resilience, the ability to adapt and recover from adversity. Emotionally intelligent people approach challenges with realistic optimism, regulate distressing emotions without suppression or avoidance, maintain perspective during difficulties, draw on social support effectively, and find meaning even in painful experiences. These capabilities don't eliminate suffering but transform how we relate to it, allowing us to bounce back from setbacks and potentially grow stronger through overcoming them. Research on resilience confirms that these emotional intelligence factors predict who will thrive despite adversity better than external circumstances or inherent hardiness alone. The contemplative traditions of various cultures, particularly mindfulness practices derived from Buddhist meditation, offer powerful methods for developing emotional intelligence. These traditions have developed sophisticated techniques for observing emotional states without automatic reactivity, cultivating positive emotions like compassion and gratitude, and recognizing the impermanent nature of all feelings. Modern scientific research increasingly validates the effectiveness of these ancient practices for enhancing emotional self-awareness, regulation, and empathy. Goleman, who began studying meditation decades before it became mainstream in Western psychology, recognizes these contemplative traditions as repositories of wisdom about emotional life that complement scientific understanding. Flow states, optimal experiences where we're completely absorbed in challenging activities that match our skills, represent emotional intelligence at its best. During flow, attention is fully focused on the task at hand, self-consciousness disappears, time perception alters, and the experience becomes intrinsically rewarding. While flow is often discussed in terms of peak performance in sports or creative pursuits, Goleman connects it to emotional intelligence, noting that managing emotions to maintain engagement without anxiety or boredom requires sophisticated emotional skills. People with higher emotional intelligence can access flow states more readily across various activities, enhancing both performance and enjoyment. Emotional intelligence significantly impacts physical health through multiple pathways. Chronic stress and negative emotional states trigger physiological responses that, over time, contribute to conditions like cardiovascular disease, compromised immunity, and accelerated cellular aging. Conversely, emotional intelligence skills like effective stress management, constructive expression of feelings, and maintaining positive emotional states correlate with better health outcomes and longevity. The field of psychoneuroimmunology, which studies the connections between psychological processes and physical health, continues to uncover biological mechanisms explaining these connections, reinforcing the importance of emotional well-being for physical vitality. The relationship between emotional intelligence and moral development forms another dimension of Goleman's analysis. Empathy, feeling with others, motivates moral behavior more reliably than abstract principles alone. Children develop moral reasoning in tandem with emotional capabilities, moving from simple rule following to more complex understanding of how actions affect others emotionally. Moral disengagement, the process by which people justify harmful actions, typically involves suppressing empathy through various psychological mechanisms. By strengthening empathic connection, emotional intelligence education can help prevent ethical lapses and promote pro-social behavior across contexts from personal relationships to organizational leadership. Goleman addresses potential criticisms of emotional intelligence, acknowledging valid concerns while defending the concept's core validity. Some critics worry that emotional intelligence might be used to discriminate against people with different emotional styles or cultural expressions. Others question whether emotional intelligence truly represents a distinct form of intelligence rather than a collection of personality traits. Goleman responds that emotional intelligence doesn't prescribe particular emotional expressions, but rather the ability to navigate emotions effectively in context-appropriate ways. Regarding measurement issues, he acknowledges challenges, but points to accumulating evidence of emotional intelligence as a distinct set of measurable capabilities with predictive validity for important life outcomes. The future of emotional intelligence research and application continues to evolve. Artificial intelligence and emotion recognition technologies raise new questions about the interplay between human emotional capabilities and machine learning. The growing field of affective neuroscience continues to deepen our understanding of the brain mechanisms underlying emotional processes. Applied research explores how emotional intelligence can address pressing societal challenges from political polarization to climate change response. While these developments extend beyond Goleman's original work, they build upon the foundation he established in bringing emotional intelligence into mainstream awareness. The enduring legacy of Goleman's work lies in its humanizing influence on our understanding of intelligence and success. By challenging the dominance of IQ and cognitive measures, he helped restore balance to our conception of human capabilities, validating the importance of emotional and social dimensions that had been undervalued in Western educational and organizational systems. This shift doesn't diminish the importance of cognitive abilities, but places them within a more holistic framework that better captures the full range of human potential and the diverse ways people contribute to society's well-being. In essence, emotional intelligence represents a bridge between thinking and feeling, dimensions of experience often treated as separate or even opposed in Western thought. Goleman's work helps us recognize that emotions contain valuable information and that reasoning without emotional awareness is impoverished. The most effective human functioning integrates heart and mind, combining the wisdom of our emotions with the clarity of our thoughts. This integration leads not only to greater personal success, but also to more meaningful connection with others and more purposeful contribution to the greater good. The practice of emotional intelligence ultimately leads toward what Goleman describes as emotional wisdom, a state where emotional awareness becomes so integrated into our functioning that it operates with minimal conscious effort, allowing us to navigate complex human situations with intuitive grace. This doesn't mean emotional challenges disappear, but rather that we develop increasing mastery in working with them constructively. Like any wisdom tradition, emotional intelligence offers not a destination, but a path of ongoing growth and development, one that continues to unfold throughout our lives as we learn to harmonize our thoughts, feelings, and actions more completely. If you found this summary of emotional intelligence valuable, please consider liking this video, subscribing to our channel for more insightful book summaries, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. How do you think developing your emotional intelligence could impact your life? We'd love to hear your perspective. And don't forget, you can get your own copy of Daniel Goleman's groundbreaking book through the link in the video description. By investing in your emotional intelligence, you're taking a powerful step toward greater success and fulfillment in all areas of your life. Thank you for watching.